I will reconvene this meeting of the Waco ISD Board of Trustees. We have been in closed session in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, and no action was taken. Moving on to 13, reports and discussion. A, further discussion on consolidation proposal issues. Dr. Kane?
We spoke at the last meetings of tax ratification elections as well as bond elections. Those conversations occurred prior to November's election, so I'd like to give you an update. Voter sentiment for Texas School District bond elections was fairly negative on November 8th, as only 18 of the 37 bond propositions, or 48.65%, were approved. As far as tax ratification elections are concerned, through November 8th, there have been 39 Texas School District tax ratification elections, with 27, or 69.23%, being approved. It is interesting to note, since the year 2007, when TREs became necessary, the approval rate has been 69.64%, essentially the same approval rate as that for the year 2011. I will bypass the first portion of the consolidation presentation you have seen twice and begin with what I'm calling Plan B proposals. At the last board presentation, you indicated you would like to be presented with some options. What you see tonight is a result of input and suggestions I have sifted through since that meeting. Even with these alternatives, my goal is to suggest to you ways to optimize WISD facility utilization while reducing expensive inefficiencies. Thus, our problem is the need to close some schools so as to allow WISD to decrease funding for small, underutilized schools and increase funding for instructional programming and quality staffing. So Plan B begins with the recommendation to transition all 5th graders to elementary schools and all 6th to 8th graders to middle school. To consolidate Alta Vista Montessori and Lake Waco Montessori programs into a single program on the Brazos Middle School campus. The Alta Vista Montessori building is facing major structural issues, and both of the elementary Montessori programs lack the science lab space necessary for the older students attending these campuses. The Lake Air suggestion did cause a certain amount of consternation regarding location. The Brazos campus offers a single, cohesive campus in a more central location for these Montessori programs. While the board heard my recommendation to close 3 elementary schools, there was a desire to have more options about which 3 campuses than what I presented. Excuse me. Therefore, I divided the district into 3 areas. The Central East Zone is first. Sul-Ross is really the only practical choice in the Central East Zone. Closing Sul-Ross Elementary and consolidating those students into Bells Hill Elementary and West Avenue Elementary makes the most sense. Sul-Ross Elementary was built in 1952 and has all the challenges associated with the 60-year-old building, including expensive maintenance and attempts to retrofit technology upgrades. The surrounding land uses around Sul-Ross Elementary are in transition as Baylor University seeks to link the main campus with Waco's urban core. That transition, coupled with the planned widening of I-35, suggests that the commercial value of the Sul-Ross parcel is increasing, and the district could likely sell this parcel for future commercial development. Central. In the Central Zone, there are 3 choices for consolidating 1 elementary school in this central portion of WISD. Schools for consideration in this area include North Waco, built in 1968 with a capacity of 748, Brook Avenue, built in 1999 with a capacity of 506, Provident Heights, built in 1999 with a capacity of 506. From a demographic and geographic perspective, any of these 3 schools could be consolidated with equivalent impact. They are in close proximity to one another, and the attendance zones could easily be distributed to surrounding schools. South. There are 4 possibilities in the south portion of the district. The 4 options and maps that follow later illustrate the impact of consolidating one of these three schools one of these schools in addition to Sul Ross and one in the Central Zone. In alphabetical order, Meadowbrook, built in 1956 with a capacity of 374. There are lots of problems with the site. It does need to be closed, or capital improvements do need to be made. Now, the zoning isn't ideal. The 300 students from Meadowbrook do not fit into Kendrick unless Kendrick is rebuilt with the capacity for 800. Parkdale is full with its early education to 5th grade in its current zone. Now, Meadowbrook students could be zoned to Crestview with a slight gerrymandering-looking zone, but that would not be the only gerrymandered-looking zone that Waco has. Mountain View, built in 1957, capacity 484. Mountain View students could fill Viking Hills and Dean Highland. Parkdale, built in 1960, capacity 462. Parkdale students could fill Viking Hills and Crestview. Viking Hills, built in 1968, capacity 308. Viking Hills students could fill Parkdale and Mountain View. At the last meeting, I was asked about adding students to the Viking Hills attendance zone, which is certainly possible with rezoning and the addition of some portable structures. In order to fill Viking Hills to near 400, by adding those portables, the students would need to be zoned from Mountain View or Parkdale into Viking Hills. The geographic location of those schools require that some students would drive past, in a sense, Mountain View or Parkdale to get to Viking Hills. However, if Mountain View or Parkdale were to be closed, then Viking Hills could be maximally utilized. The three schools in the let me go back to that. The three schools in the far southwestern portion of the district, Mountain View, Viking Hills, and Parkdale, could relatively easily be consolidated into two campuses. These three schools were clustered in a triangle at the very corner of Waco ISD, where the population only supports two campuses. The geography of these campuses relative to the population density and district boundaries makes condensing the three into two a relatively simple task. However, Meadowbrook is actually the most logical target for consolidation based on the condition of the facility, which includes ongoing structural problems, floodplain ramifications, potential bridge, and other issues. Again, zoning of the students is less straightforward. Last month, I suggested rebuilding a new Kendrick with enough capacity to include the Meadowbrook students, but this requires a bond election. One reason I read the results of the November bond election was not to give you a false sense of hope. For the short term, the Meadowbrook students could be rezoned into Crestview with a somewhat odd-shaped attendance zone. If the community is unwilling to support a bond issue, Meadowbrook's physical situation will only continue to deteriorate. Likewise, we can rezone more students to Viking Hills, better utilizing that campus, which results in another slightly odd-shaped attendance zones for Viking Hills. Now, I wanted to go through all of them so people wouldn't feel like I left anyone out, but South Waco, the district does need a school east of I-35. For Hines, the district needs a school east of the river. Kendrick, there is really no good rezoning option for 500 students in Kendrick, and it is an ideal location for a future replacement school. At Crestview, there are not enough other students close enough to absorb the students from Crestview. Cedar Ridge, the school is a good size to well accommodate the population in the northern portion of the district. There would be no good rezoning options for these far north residents. The second group that I excluded was due to the age of the school. Clearly, Bells Hill, West Avenue, Dean Highland, and J.H. Hines. To review, I'm suggesting in Plan B that we transition all 5th graders to elementary schools and all 6th through 8th graders to middle school campuses. We use Brazos Middle School campus for the Montessori programs. One challenge that has faced Brazos Middle School is the lack of athletic facilities equivalent to the other middle schools. However, space availability issues as well as financial considerations make such upgrades difficult at Brazos. This would not be a detriment to the largely elementary-aged Montessori students. I'm suggesting in Plan B that we close 3 elementary schools from the sectional groups I discussed earlier. I'm suggesting that we consolidate the alternative high school campus and the STARS program at the former Wiley building. This could be an economical utilization of the Wiley building while offering opportunity to integrate staff and share resources such as nurse, maintenance, and other support staff. This would also offer more opportunities for electives for these high school students. And don't forget, our police department is at the alternative school, and there is a place for them at Wiley as well. Concern was expressed at the last meeting of Plan A's suggestion to make A.J. Moore a 6-12 academy magnet. Plan B suggests that we move A.J. Moore Academy to its own wing at University High School or to its own area at Waco High School. Our capacity for high school students is great, as our high school students are on 3 different campuses and each campus is underutilized. A.J. Moore is a magnet high school and could maintain its own identity at whichever high school it is housed. Wait a minute, I'm losing my elementary stuff here. For this Saturday's workshop, I've asked Mrs. Ryer to speak to the board about the positives of moving Carver to A.J. Moore as presented in Plan A because of the concerns the board expressed. She will also share her thoughts about housing A.J. Moore at any other high school. I've asked Mr. Correa to speak to the board about the positives of moving A.J. Moore to the University High School. These will not be adversarial positions or presentations, but only narrative discussions, since I'm certain the board wants to hear from principals about such matters. Moving A.J. Moore would allow the utilization of the current A.J. Moore campus as a middle school. Alternatively, the A.J. Moore site could be sold by the district as it is located on prime property and different plans for middle schools can be developed. Plan B suggests that we close University Middle School and move those students to the current A.J. Moore site. The current University Middle School property is in a prime commercial location and could easily be sold. Much of the former high school facilities are unusable for the middle school, and additional funds would be necessary for demolition, remodeling, or otherwise creating safe, usable space. As Brazos would be converted to the Montessori campus in this plan, Brazos students would be zoned to the A.J. Moore site along with university middle schools. I'm also suggesting that we establish an attendance zone for Carver Middle School, making it a much larger, better used zoned middle school. Currently, Carver is being utilized at only 50% of its 925 student capacity. By moving middle school students out of Brazos and University Middle School, Carver could absorb many more students into its new attendance zone. This map that you're looking at is an example of the elementary zones with Sul Ross, North Waco, and Meadowbrook closed. This map is an example of the elementary zones with Sul Ross, North Waco, and Mountain View closed. This map is an example of the elementary zones with Sul Ross, North Waco, and Parkdale closed. Again, the board will have the final say on attendance zones. This is just kind of a general idea of what the district would look like. This map is an example of the elementary zones with Sul Ross, North Waco, and Viking Hills closed. The next map shows middle school attendance zone configuration should Sul Ross, North Waco, and Meadowbrook be closed. This is what the middle schools would look like. Of course, there's different plans for the middle schools too. There's so many combinations. I just threw some of them up here. There's the, if you do part of A and part B, it'd look like this. I'm just kind of giving you an idea of, for instance, this map shows middle school attendance zones should Sul Ross, North Waco, and Mountain View be consolidated. This map shows middle school attendance zones should Sul Ross, North Waco, and Parkdale be consolidated. This map shows middle school attendance zones should Sul Ross, North Waco, and Viking Hills be consolidated.